The ship came from the darkness between stars. It was massive, almost 2 miles long, and it moved through space like a silver snake. Behind it, 12 smaller ships followed in perfect formation. Admiral Jack Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance and watched them approach. His gray eyes showed no fear. He had commanded Earth's defense fleet for 15 years. He had seen many strange things, but he had never seen anything like this. "How far?" he asked. "They will reach the moon in 6 hours, sir," said Captain Rachel Torres. She was young, but her voice was steady. "Should I signal Earth Command?" "They already know," Jack said. "Everyone knows. The whole planet is watching." He was right. On Earth, 8 billion people looked up at the sky. They had known this day would come. For 50 years, humanity had prepared in secret. They had built weapons. They had trained soldiers. They had dug bunkers deep underground, and they had waited. Now the waiting was over. Dr. Emily Carter walked onto the bridge. She was small, with dark hair and bright eyes that missed nothing. She was Earth's best language expert. If anyone could talk to these aliens, it was her. "I have been listening to their signals," she said. "Their language is complex, but I think I understand the basics. They call themselves the Kathrani." "What do they want?" Jack asked. Emily hesitated. "They want us to surrender." The bridge went silent. Every officer stopped working and looked at her. "Surrender?" Jack repeated. "They represent something called the Galactic Council. It seems they rule most of the galaxy. When they find new species, they expect those species to join them." Emily paused. "They do not ask. They demand." Jack turned back to the window. The alien ships were getting closer now. He could see lights on their hulls. "Contact them," he said. "Tell them we want to talk." The message went out. Minutes later, a face appeared on the main screen. It was not human. The creature was tall and thin, with hard skin like an insect. It had 4 arms and eyes that glowed yellow. When it spoke, its voice was cold. "I am Ambassador Veloth of the Kathrani. I speak for the Galactic Council. You are the species called humans, yes? I am Admiral Jack Morrison. I speak for Earth." Veloth made a sound that might have been laughter. "An admiral? We expected to speak with your leaders, but it does not matter. Our message is simple. Your planet is now under the protection of the Galactic Council. You will accept our laws. You will pay tribute. You will serve." Jack did not blink. "No." The alien's yellow eyes flickered. "I do not think you understand. This is not a request. The Council has ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. We have brought order to 100 species. Those who resist are destroyed. Those who obey are allowed to live. Choose." "We choose neither," Jack said. His voice was calm but hard like iron. "Earth is our home. We built it. We bled for it. We died for it. And we will not give it away." Veloth leaned closer to the screen. "You are primitives. You have only just learned to leave your planet. Your weapons are toys. Your ships are slow and weak. What makes you think you can stand against the Council?" Jack smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "Because we have been killing each other for 10,000 years. We know war better than you can imagine. If you come to Earth as friends, we will welcome you. But if you come as conquerors, we will show you what humans can do." The alien stared at him for a long moment. Then it laughed again. "Brave words from a dying species. We will land our security forces on your planet tomorrow. If you resist, you will be destroyed." "I am giving you one warning," Jack said slowly. "Keep away from Earth. Turn your ships around and leave our system. Tell your council that humanity is not for sale. And if we refuse, then you will learn why we have survived so long." The screen went dark. The alien had ended the call. Colonel David Park stepped forward. He was a big man with a soldier's face, hard and scarred. Sir, they are launching smaller ships. I count 30. They are heading for Earth. Let them come, Jack said. Emily looked at him with worry in her eyes. Jack, what are you doing? We cannot fight them. Not yet. We do not need to fight them, Jack said. We just need to teach them. He pressed a button on his console. All stations, this is Admiral Morrison. Activate the Sentinel network. High above Earth, hidden satellites came to life. They had been sleeping for 30 years, waiting for this moment. They were not big, they were not impressive, but inside each one was a weapon that could punch through steel. The Kathrani ships flew toward Earth. They expected no resistance. Why would they? Humans were primitives. Humans were weak. Humans would bow like all the others. They were wrong. The Sentinel network fired. It happened fast, faster than the aliens could react. 30 beams of pure energy cut through space. The Kathrani ships tried to dodge, but it was too late. In 3 seconds, 15 ships were disabled. Their engines went dark. Their weapons went silent. On the main Kathrani vessel, Ambassador Veloth stared at his screens in shock. Impossible, he whispered. They cannot have such weapons. They are primitives. But humans were not primitives. They had simply been waiting, watching, preparing. Jack Morrison looked at the drifting alien ships and felt no joy. He knew this was just the beginning. The Council would send more ships. They would send fleets. They would try to crush humanity like they had crushed so many others. But Earth would be ready. Send them another message, Jack told Emily. Tell them to take their broken ships and go home. Tell them to give their council a message from humanity. What message? Emily asked. Jack turned to face her. His eyes were hard but sad. He knew what was coming. He knew the cost. Tell them we warned them, he said, and tell them we do not give second chances. The great chamber of Nexus Prime was older than human civilization. It floated in the center of the galaxy, a station so large that it had its own weather. Here, the masters of the universe gathered to decide the fate of worlds. Ambassador Veloth stood before the council, his 4 arms folded in shame. Around him, representatives from 47 species watched and listened. Some were tall, some were small, some had scales, some had feathers, some had no bodies at all, just floating clouds of light. But all of them were powerful, all of them were old, and all of them were angry. You failed, said High Arbiter Morath. He was ancient, even by galactic standards. His body looked like crystal, and he floated above his seat like a jellyfish in water. His voice was soft, but carried through the entire chamber. You had 30 ships, the humans had nothing, and yet you failed. Veloth lowered his head. They had hidden weapons. We did not expect resistance. That is no excuse. The voice came from the shadows. A massive reptilian creature stepped forward. He was Commander Dreth of the Vosari Empire. His scales were dark red, and his eyes burned with hunger. The Council does not fail. The Council does not retreat. This is an insult to everything we have built. Morath raised a crystalline hand. We must be careful. These humans have shown unexpected strength. Perhaps we should study them before we act. Study them? Dreth laughed. It was a harsh, ugly sound. They are animals. They live on one small planet. They have only just learned to fly between stars. There is nothing to study. There is only conquest. The chamber filled with murmurs. Many species agreed with Dreth. They had grown rich and powerful by crushing the weak. They did not like the idea of a small planet standing against them. Morath shook his head slowly. I have lived for 12,000 years. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have seen species that seemed weak become strong. We should not underestimate these humans. The Vosari do not underestimate anyone, Dreth said. We simply destroy them. My fleet is ready. 200 warships, the finest in the galaxy. Give me permission, and I will bring you Earth on a silver plate." The vote was quick. The council was afraid, and fear made them cruel. They gave Dreth permission to attack Earth. On the small blue planet, President Thomas Reed watched the news with tired eyes. He was an old man with white hair and a face full of worry, but his mind was sharp and his heart was strong. Dr. James Walker stood beside him. He was a historian who had spent his life studying war. "They will come," he said. "The Vossari have never lost a battle. They conquered 12 species in the last century alone." "How long do we have?" the president asked. "A month, maybe less. Their ships are fast." Thomas Reed stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the city of Washington, D.C. sparkled in the night. Millions of people lived their lives not knowing what was coming. "We cannot tell them everything," the president said. "If people know a fleet is coming to destroy us, there will be panic." "But they need to know something," Walker said. "They need to prepare." The president nodded. "Call a meeting. All military commanders, all scientists, everyone who knows the truth. We have 1 month to save our species." In a secret base beneath the Rocky Mountains, Colonel David Park was already working. He stood before a room full of soldiers, scientists, and engineers. On the screen behind him was a map of the solar system. "The Vossari will come from this direction," he said, pointing to the outer planets. "They will expect us to fight near Earth. They will expect us to defend our home." "And we will not?" asked Lieutenant Sarah Mitchell. She was young and smart, one of the best intelligence officers in the fleet. "No," David said. "We will meet them in the darkness. We will hit them where they do not expect. We will bleed them before they ever see Earth." He pulled up another image. It showed thousands of small objects floating in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. "For 20 years, we have been hiding weapons in the asteroids. Mines, missiles, drones that can fight on their own. The Vossari think we are primitives. They think we have been sleeping, but we have been working." Admiral Jack Morrison entered the room. His face was grim but determined. "I just spoke with the president. He has given us full authority to defend Earth by any means necessary." "What about the people?" Sarah asked. "Do they know?" Jack shook his head. "They know aliens exist. They know we turned them away. But they do not know about the fleet coming to destroy us. The president will tell them soon, but he wants us to have a plan first." "We have a plan," David said. He looked around the room at the faces of humanity's defenders. "We have always had a plan. Every war we have ever fought taught us something. Every mistake made us stronger. The Vossari think they are warriors, but they have never faced a species like us." Dr. Emily Carter raised her hand. "I have been listening to their communications. Commander Dreth is arrogant. He truly believes this will be easy. He is telling his soldiers they will be home in a week." Jack smiled coldly. "Good. Let him believe that. Arrogance makes people careless. When he realizes the truth, it will be too late." That night, across Earth, people looked up at the stars and wondered what was coming. They had heard the news about the aliens. They had seen the videos of the strange ships. But they did not know the danger they were in. In schools, children asked their teachers about life in the galaxy. In churches, priests prayed for peace. In bars, people argued about whether the aliens were friendly or hostile. They did not know that 200 warships were already on their way. They did not know that a creature called Dreth was dreaming of their destruction. They did not know that their entire species had been marked for death. But in the secret bases beneath mountains and oceans, humanity's defenders worked through the night. They checked weapons. They ran simulations. They prepared for the greatest battle in human history. Admiral Jack Morrison stood alone on the bridge of his ship, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the enemy was coming. They were stronger. They were faster. They had conquered half the galaxy, but they had never fought humans. Jack touched the glass of the window. "Come and get us," he whispered. "Come and learn why we survived." Outside, the stars burned cold and bright. The universe was old and cruel. It did not care about small planets or brave species. It did not care about hope or love or dreams. But humans did. And that perhaps would make all the difference. The Vasari fleet entered the solar system like a dark cloud rolling over the sun. 200 warships, each one bigger than a small city, moved through the void in perfect formation. At their center was the flagship of Commander Dreth, a massive vessel called the Destroyer of Worlds. Dreth sat on his throne and watched the stars pass by. His red scales gleamed in the light of his command screens. Around him, officers worked at their stations, tracking data and giving reports. But Dreth barely listened. He was thinking about victory. "Commander," said his first officer, "we have entered the human system. Our scouts report no resistance." "Of course there is no resistance," Dreth said. "They are hiding on their little planet, shaking with fear. They know they cannot stop us. They know death is coming." The officer hesitated. "Sir, should we not be careful? The Kathrani said the humans had hidden weapons." Dreth laughed. "The Kathrani are cowards. They ran from a few damaged ships. We are Vosari. We do not run. We do not fear. We conquer." The fleet moved deeper into the solar system. They passed the cold, distant planets where nothing lived. They moved toward the asteroid belt, a ring of rocks floating between Mars and Jupiter. Dreth did not worry about the asteroids. They were just rocks. What could rocks do to warships? He was about to find out. On the UES Defiance, Admiral Jack Morrison watched the enemy fleet on his screen. They were still far away, but they were getting closer. In a few hours, they would reach the asteroid belt. "Are we ready?" he asked. Colonel David Park nodded. "Everything is in position. The mines are active. The drones are waiting. All ships are hidden behind the larger asteroids." Captain Rachel Torres looked nervous. "Sir, there are so many of them. 200 ships. We have only 40. "Numbers do not win wars," Jack said quietly. "Courage wins wars. Strategy wins wars. The will to fight when all hope seems lost wins wars." He looked at his officers, at the men and women who had trusted him with their lives. "Today we show the galaxy what humans can do. Today we write a legend." The Vosari fleet entered the asteroid belt. The rocks were thick here, and the big ships had to slow down to navigate between them. Dreth watched from his throne, annoyed by the delay. "Push through," he ordered. "I want to reach Earth by tomorrow." His ships moved forward. They pushed into the heart of the asteroid field. And then the darkness came alive. The first mine exploded against a Vasari cruiser. The ship's shields flickered and died. Before the crew could react, 20 more mines hit them from all directions. The cruiser broke apart in a ball of fire. "What is happening?" Dreth roared. All around the fleet, mines were activating. They had been hidden for years, sleeping in the shadows, waiting for this moment. Thousands of them, attached to asteroids, buried in ice, floating in the void. They swarmed toward the Vasari ships like angry bees. "Shields up! All ships, shields up!" screamed the first officer. But the mines were smart. They did not hit the shields directly. They targeted the weak spots, the gaps between armor plates, the exhaust ports of engines. Vasari ships began to burn. Then the drones came. They were small, each one no bigger than a car. But there were thousands of them, and they moved faster than anything the Vasari had ever seen. They swooped between the asteroids, firing their weapons, then disappearing before the enemy could react. Dreth watched in horror as his beautiful fleet began to die. Ships that had conquered worlds were being torn apart by robots the size of insects. His officers were screaming orders. His gunners were firing at shadows. Nothing worked. "Where are they?" Dreth demanded. Where are the human ships? The answer came from behind a massive asteroid. The UES Defiance and 40 human warships emerged from hiding. They were smaller than the Vasari vessels, but they were fast and deadly. Their weapons fired in perfect coordination. Admiral Morrison stood on his bridge and watched the battle unfold. His ships cut through the confused Vasari fleet like knives through butter. The enemy was scattered, panicking, unable to form a defense. "Target their command ships," Jack ordered. "Cut off the head and the body will fall." Rachel Torres nodded. "Targeting flagship now." "Sir." Dreth felt his ship shake as human weapons struck the destroyer of worlds. Alarms screamed. Lights flickered. His crew was dying around him. "Fall back," he ordered. "All ships fall back to Mars." The Vasari retreated. They ran from the asteroid belt, leaving behind 50 burning wrecks. Dreth could not believe what was happening. He had conquered 12 species. He had never lost a battle. And now these primitives were making him run. The humans did not follow. They let the Vasari go. Admiral Morrison watched the enemy fleet limp toward Mars. He felt no joy in the victory. He knew this was just the first battle. The Vasari still had 150 ships. They would regroup. They would attack again. "Sir," said David Park, "they are moving toward Mars. What do we do?" Jack smiled. "We let them get close. Very close." On Mars, hidden beneath the red dust, something waited. It had been built in secret over 30 years. It was called the Prometheus Array, and it was humanity's greatest weapon. 20 particle cannons, each one powered by a small sun. Dreth brought his fleet into orbit around Mars. He needed time to repair his ships. He needed time to think. He stared at the red planet below him and felt something he had never felt before. Fear. "Commander," said his first officer, "our sensors are detecting something on the planet's surface." Before Dreth could respond, the ground below began to open. Massive doors, hidden for decades, slid apart. Metal towers rose from the dust. "What is that?" Dreth whispered. The Prometheus Array fired. 20 beams of pure energy cut through space. They moved at the speed of light. There was no time to dodge, no time to run. The beams hit the Vasari flagship directly. The destroyer of worlds broke in half. Dreth watched as his command deck filled with fire. His scales burned. His eyes went dark. His last thought was a question that would haunt his species forever. How? How could primitives do this? Around him, the Vasari fleet scattered like leaves in a storm. Ships tried to escape, but the array was faster. It fired again and again. 60 more ships died in the light of human fury. When it was over, only 40 Vasari ships remained. They ran toward the edge of the solar system as fast as their engines could carry them. They did not look back. They did not stop. On the UES Defiance, the crew watched them go. Some cheered, some cried, some simply stared in silence. Admiral Morrison closed his eyes and breathed deeply. They had won. Earth was safe, for now. He opened his eyes and looked at his officers. "This is not over. The Council will send more ships. They will not stop until we are destroyed, or they are." Captain Torres nodded. "What do we do, sir?" Jack turned to face the stars. Somewhere out there, a galaxy was watching. A galaxy that had just learned something important. Humans were not primitives. Humans were not weak. Humans were survivors. And they were just getting started. The news spread across the galaxy like fire through dry grass. On 1,000 worlds, beings of every shape and size watched the same images. Vasari warships burning, human weapons firing, Commander Dreth's flagship breaking apart in the light of alien suns. No one could believe it. The Vasari had never lost a war. They had conquered 12 species in the last century alone. Their fleet was supposed to be unbeatable, and yet a small planet of primitives had destroyed them in a single day. On Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council gathered in emergency session. The great chamber was full of voices, all of them angry, all of them afraid. High Arbiter Morath floated above his seat and watched the chaos with ancient eyes. He had warned them. He had told them not to underestimate the humans. But they had not listened. Now 100 ships burned in the void, and the galaxy would never be the same. "We must respond," shouted a delegate from the Kathrani. "We must send the entire fleet. We must crush them before they become stronger." "And lose more ships?" asked another voice. "The humans have weapons we do not understand. They planned for this. They have been preparing for years." In the shadows, beings from the Syndicate of Orvan listened carefully. They were the secret masters of galactic commerce. They controlled trade routes, banks, and the flow of money between stars. They had grown rich from war and conquest. Now they saw an opportunity. "Perhaps we do not need to fight them," said their leader, a creature of smoke and whispers. "Perhaps we can destroy them another way. Cut off their trade. Starve their economy. Turn other species against them. War is not the only weapon." Morath shook his crystalline head. "You speak of games and tricks, but these humans do not play games. They fight, and they win." Far from Nexus Prime, on a quiet world of blue forests and silver rivers, Elder Neva of the Lorani watched the same news. Her people were empaths, beings who could feel the emotions of others. They had no weapons. They had no army. They had been conquered by the Council long ago. But they remembered freedom. And when they saw the humans fight, they felt something they had not felt in centuries: hope. "We must help them," Neva said to her council. "These humans are different. They do not bow. They do not break. If we stand with them, perhaps we can be free again." "It is dangerous," said another elder. "The council will punish us." "The council is already punishing us," Neva replied. "Every day we live under their rule is punishment. Better to die fighting than to live as slaves." She made a decision that would change everything. She would travel to Earth. She would meet these strange beings who had done the impossible, and she would offer them friendship. On Earth, the victory celebration was short. President Thomas Reed addressed the world, telling them the truth at last. He spoke of the alien fleet, the battle at Mars, and the danger that still remained. "We have won a battle," he said, his voice tired but strong. "But the war is not over. The Galactic Council rules 1,000 worlds. They have weapons and armies beyond counting. They will come again, and we must be ready." In a secret room beneath the White House, his advisors gathered to plan the next steps. Admiral Morrison was there, along with Colonel David Park, Dr. Emily Carter, and Dr. James Walker. "We cannot keep fighting alone," Walker said. "One victory does not win a war. We need allies." "And where will we find allies?" David asked. "Every species in the galaxy is under Council control." Emily looked up from her tablet. "Not every species. I have been monitoring alien communications. Some species are unhappy with the Council. They have been conquered, forced to serve. When they saw us fight, they began to talk." "Talk of what?" Morrison asked. "Rebellion." The room went quiet. This was bigger than anyone had expected. Humanity had not just defended Earth. They had started something that could change the entire galaxy. A week later, a small ship appeared at the edge of the solar system. It carried no weapons. It sent a message of peace. And on board was Elder Neva of the Lorani. She met with President Reed in the Rose Garden of the White House. She was tall and thin, with skin like moonlight and eyes that held the sorrow of centuries. When she spoke, her voice was soft like wind through leaves. "I have come to offer friendship," she said. "My people have watched the Council crush world after world. We had given up hope. Then we saw your ships. We saw your soldiers. We saw beings who refused to bow." President Reed listened carefully. "Your help would be welcome, but I must ask, What can your people offer? You said you have no weapons. Neva smiled gently. We have something better. We have knowledge. For 10,000 years we have lived under the Council's rule. We know their secrets, their weaknesses, their fears. She paused. And we are not alone. Dozens of species are ready to stand with you. They only need someone to lead them. That night, Emily Carter and Colonel Park worked to decode the Lurani information. What they found made their blood run cold. The extinction protocol, Emily whispered. My God! Park stared at the screen. They would actually do this? Kill an entire planet? The data was clear. Twice before in galactic history, the Council had used a weapon so terrible that nothing survived. Entire worlds had been sterilized. Every living thing burned to ash. The weapon was hidden somewhere in Council space, and now there were talks of using it on Earth. Park picked up the phone. Get me the president, now. President Reed received the news in silence. For a long moment, he sat alone, looking at pictures of his grandchildren. Then he made a decision. Call the United Nations, he said. Contact every nation on Earth. We are going to war. Not just to defend our home, but to free the galaxy. If we fall fighting. If we win for everyone. The next morning, Earth broadcast a message to the stars. It was simple, but it carried the weight of hope. To all species under Council rule. We are humanity. We have fought the Vasari and won. We will fight again. If you want freedom, if you want justice, stand with us. Together we can break the chains that bind us all. Together we can be free. Across the galaxy, billions of beings heard the message. Some were afraid, some were angry, but many, for the first time in their lives, felt a fire burning in their hearts. The humans were coming, and nothing would ever be the same. On Nexus Prime, High Arbiter Morath watched the human broadcast and felt something strange in his ancient heart. It was not fear. It was not anger. It was curiosity. What are you? He whispered to the image of Earth. What strange creatures could rise so fast and shine so bright? He did not know the answer, but he suspected he would find out soon. The galaxy was waking up, and humanity was leading the way. The human fleet traveled through dark space for 3 weeks. 50 warships, led by Admiral Jack Morrison, moved toward the center of the galaxy. Their destination was Nexus Prime, the heart of Council power. No human had ever made this journey before. No human had ever stood in the great chamber where the fate of worlds was decided. But President Reed had made a choice. Humanity would not hide. Humanity would not wait for the next attack. They would go to the Council directly and deliver a message the galaxy would never forget. Ambassador Lisa Henderson stood on the bridge of the Defiance and watched the stars pass by. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. For 30 years, she had negotiated with the most difficult leaders on Earth. Now she would speak for all of humanity. Are you nervous? Admiral Morrison asked. Lisa smiled. Terrified, but that is normal. The best diplomats are always terrified. It keeps us careful. Colonel David Park walked over with a report. Sir, our scouts say we are being watched. Council ships are following us from a distance. They have not attacked, but they are ready. Let them watch, Jack said. We come in peace. We will not fire first. The fleet continued forward. They passed through star systems controlled by Council species. Everywhere they went, beings watched them with a mix of fear and wonder. The primitives who had defeated the Vasari, the primitives who had dared to challenge the masters of the galaxy. On Nexus Prime, the Council prepared for their arrival. Some wanted to destroy the human fleet before it reached the station, but High Arbiter Morath refused. They come to talk, he said. We will listen. If we attack ambassadors, we are no better than the creatures we claim to rule. Commander Veloth of the Kathrani was angry. These humans humiliated me. They humiliated all of us. We should crush them and be done with it." The Vasari tried to crush them. Morath replied quietly, "Where are the Vasari now?" Veloth had no answer. Dreth was dead. His fleet was ash. The Vasari Empire was in chaos. For the first time in centuries, conquered species were beginning to question council authority. The human fleet arrived at Nexus Prime. It was the most amazing thing any of them had ever seen. A station the size of a moon, covered in lights and towers, floating in the center of a massive nebula. Ships from 100 species moved around it like fish around a reef. "Beautiful," Emily Carter whispered. She stood beside Lisa, ready to translate if needed. "And terrifying." Lisa nodded. "All the most beautiful things are terrifying. That is what makes them beautiful." A shuttle carried the human delegation from the Defiance to the station. Ambassador Henderson, Dr. Carter, Colonel Park, and 20 guards. They were met by council security and led through corridors older than human civilization. The great chamber was full when they arrived. Representatives from 47 species sat in a vast circle. At the center was a platform where visitors stood to address the council. Lisa walked to the platform alone. Her footsteps echoed in the silence. High Arbiter Morath looked down at her with his crystalline eyes. "You are the human ambassador?" "I am Lisa Henderson. I speak for Earth and all humanity." "You come to a place where no human has ever stood. You come after destroying one of our greatest fleets. What do you have to say?" Lisa took a deep breath. She had prepared for this moment her entire life. Everything depended on the next few minutes. "I come to speak the truth," she said. Her voice was clear and strong. "For too long, the Council has ruled through fear. You have conquered the weak. You have crushed the different. You have used your power to control, to dominate, to destroy." The chamber filled with angry murmurs. But Lisa did not stop. "We know about the Extinction Protocol. We know you have used it twice before. We know you are considering using it on Earth. You would murder 8 billion people rather than let them live free." The murmurs grew louder. Many species had never heard of the Extinction Protocol. It was a secret known only to the Council's inner circle. Lisa held up a small device. On every screen in the chamber, images appeared. Documents, plans, records of atrocities committed in the name of order. 2 worlds burned to nothing, millions of lives erased. "This is the truth of your council," Lisa said. "This is what you have hidden from the galaxy. This is what happens to species that refuse to bow." The chamber exploded with shouts. Some demanded the humans be arrested. Others called for investigations. Species that had been loyal to the Council for centuries began to question everything they knew. High Arbiter Morath raised a hand for silence. It took a long time, but finally the chamber grew quiet. "You have made serious accusations," he said. "If they are true, the Council has much to answer for." "They are true," Lisa replied. "And humanity is not here to ask for mercy or beg for peace. We are here to make a declaration." She turned to face the entire chamber. 47 species. Beings of every shape, size, and color. The rulers of a galaxy that had forgotten what freedom meant. "Earth does not seek war," she said. "We do not want empire. We want only to live in peace, to explore the stars, to build a future for our children. But we will not bow. We will not submit. And we will not be conquered." Her voice rose, filling the ancient chamber with human defiance. "Any species that threatens our home will learn what we have learned through 10,000 years of struggle. Humans do not surrender. We do not give up. We fight. We survive. We adapt. And we win." She paused, letting the words sink in. "To the Council, I say this. Leave us alone. Stop your conquest. End your tyranny. Because if you continue down this path, humanity will stand against you. And we will not stand alone. Already dozens of species are ready to join us. The galaxy is waking up. The era of fear is ending. Lisa looked directly at High Arbiter Morath. You can choose to be our enemy, or you can choose to be our friend. But know this. Whichever you choose, humanity will be free. Today, tomorrow, forever. The chamber was silent. No one moved. No one spoke. Then, slowly, something incredible happened. Representatives from smaller species began to stand. The Lurani stood first, their leader, Elder Neva, raising her hand in support. Then others joined them. Species that had been conquered, oppressed, forgotten. They rose to their feet, one by one, until half the chamber was standing. High Arbiter Morath watched this with ancient eyes. He had lived for 12,000 years. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had seen species come and go like waves on a shore. But he had never seen anything like this. It seems, he said slowly, that you have started something that cannot be stopped. Lisa smiled. We only showed them the truth. They chose what to do with it. Morath was silent for a long moment. Then he did something that shocked the entire chamber. He laughed. It was a soft, crystalline sound, like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Perhaps we have underestimated you, he said. Perhaps we have underestimated many things. Very well, humans. We will talk. We will negotiate. We will see if there is a place for you in this galaxy that does not involve war. That is all we ask, Lisa said. A chance to live. A chance to grow. A chance to prove that there is a better way. She turned and walked out of the chamber. Behind her, the galaxy was changing. The old order was cracking. New alliances were forming, and at the center of it all, a small blue planet called Earth was leading the way. 6 months later, Dr. Emily Carter stood on a balcony overlooking New York City. The war was not over, but the worst was behind them. The Council had agreed to negotiations. The Extinction Protocol had been revealed and condemned. And across the galaxy, species were beginning to hope again. General David Park walked out to join her. His hair was grayer now, and there were new lines on his face, but his eyes were still sharp, still ready. We just wanted to be left alone, Emily said softly. David nodded. I know, but sometimes the only way to find peace is to prove you cannot be broken. Emily looked up at the sky. Ships from a dozen worlds passed overhead, trading goods, sharing knowledge, building something new. The universe was vast and dangerous, but humanity had earned its place in it. One warning, that was all they had given, and the galaxy had learned to listen.